Over the top, ain't no love, so much spot, I'm on the shelf, over the top, ain't no love, I'm on the shelf, I'm at a stop, yeah, over the top for real, over the top for real, over the top for real, price won't drop for real, over the top for real, over the top for real, over the top, checking the stock, it's about to pop for real, got a Nike deal, all I see is checks, yo boy, they on Instagram, flexing for respect, yo boy, you can win a jet, I don't drive flight, yo boy, got a captain, they be capping most of y'all, yo, I got 50 on me, I made a milli just being holy, I kept a Benz and I had a rope, walked in the jewelry store.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Monday Moments with Marcus. Monday Moments with Marcus. We want to support Lady V Fish Fry, Lady V Fish Fry and Catering on this upcoming Friday. She's going to have all kinds of red snapper, catfish, tilapia, fish po' boy, my bad. She's going to have some chicken strips, some all this other stuff that's on the screen. So make sure that you go and you support. She's asking that you place your order by this Wednesday, by 7 p.m. on Wednesday. There's also going to be my son's lemonade, Keb's lemonade. There's going to be some regular lemonade, some peach lemonade, and some strawberry lemonade made by my son. And then also I'm going to be making some cake in a jar. So make sure you hit her up and place your order and be ready. They will deliver orders of five or more. So we want to shout out Lady V, Fish Fry and Catering. Welcome everyone. I want to welcome you one more time to Monday Moments with Marcus. It's such a privilege to be here on tonight, and I am honored that you all have taken the time out of your day to just sit and chill out with me. So today I am very excited to have a brother that I met not too long ago, and he's just really opened up opportunities for me to speak on his podcast with other men, and I have just definitely as a man been sharpened through my connection with this brother. So I want to invite onto the screen my brother, Derrick Faggétt.
Yes.
Did I say it right? Bro?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it was perfect.
Okay. Yeah. I was a little hesitant.
Yeah.
How's it going, sir?
Yeah. Man, it's going well.
Great. I'm thankful for you taking the opportunity to come and drop by on tonight and really discuss our topic, man or builders. But before we get into it, I just want you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, I'm just a simple guy, but I do special things. So I have a calling on my life, I believe, and it's to set free the mindset of men and the lack of understanding how to be that man. So I believe that that's a calling on my life. I'm a father, husband, entrepreneur, mentor, life coach. But I think probably the most precious title that I hold to my heart is being a father. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, I don't understand, and it's no judgment here, but I just don't understand like an absentee father, because one of the greatest joys is just being around my children, both boys. My oldest is 18 now, so he's a man, and then I have the 5-year-old, but it's nothing like the joys that they bring to you in each stage of their life, right? And to miss that, I think I will be missing out on a vital part of who I am or who I'm supposed to be. So I definitely agree with you on that. That is definitely a gift, a great gift from God. So talk to me about some of the things that you do. You know, you do the man of
Fortitude. Yeah. Man of Fortitude
can you hear me?
was birthed. I wrote a book. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So Man of Fortitude was birthed after writing I was in an anthology with 21 or 20 other authors. I was the 21st. And I was a part of this anthology called Soul Talk Volume 3. And in that book, I talked about my growing up without my father being present and some of the struggles that I had to overcome as a man or developing into a man, some of the struggles that I had to navigate. And then I became a father and I shared those things. And I didn't want the same pathology to pass down from my father to myself and then so on. So in that book, I shared my journey and as well as my results in that book. And it was an Amazon bestseller. So I'm thankful to
Wow.
God for that. And Miss Cheryl Pelote Williams, shout out to her. She was the visionary and spearhead individual who was responsible for putting the project together. And I met her for the first time a little over a couple of years ago. And she was very instrumental in helping me navigate my story. And by writing that story, I got a lot of healing, things that I thought I had overcame. I simply and put on the back burner. And when I began to write my story, it all came back like floodgates. And it was a healing process for me. It was a healing. But so with that came, when I began to share my story with other men, a lot of men would kind of navigate towards me, migrate towards me and say, man, your story is my story. Your story is my story. Your story is my story. And I felt somewhat empowered because I was actually sharing what I thought was mess that was actually a blessing, because I was actually using my come through to help some other men deal with their come through. So, and that's how Men of Fortitude was born. Men of Fortitude was born just to have a safe place for men to begin having the dialogue, to begin having conversations about how to solve the problems that men face or lack of being a man face. I wanted to bridge that gap. There's an overwhelming amount of information, not nearly enough information out there for men to be that conduit, if you will, a bridge, to kind of start to talk about those things. And I believe it's working. So.
Awesome. Yes, it's definitely working. And you've definitely had some great topics, and you've also had some great men on there. Like I said, I'm grateful that you've given me the opportunity to be on that show. Because again, I've been strengthened as a man. I've been inspired and motivated as a father, husband, and all those things from being connected to the Man of Fortitude. So thank you for that opportunity. And so let's talk about you being a father.
Thank you.
You're a father and a husband. How long have you been married?
Yeah, I have six. 7 years. 7 years. This is
Wow.
my second
So
marriage.
6 children.
That's a book. That's a book in itself, right?
Wow, 6 children. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot, right? But that's a whole lot of story to write.
Yeah.
All right.
We are a blended family. Say it again.
No, go ahead. You're a blended family.
Yeah, so we're a blended family. My wife and I, we've been married for, it will be 7 years. Um, my wife is originally from California. I'm from Chicago, met in Dallas. Uh, that's an interesting story in itself. But you know, we homeschooling now for about 7 years. Our oldest is 27. Our youngest is just turned 9 today. So you know, it's children, like you said, are a blessing. It's a joy to see them grow up and watch them, you know, transition into adolescent and just see their facial features change and watch their mannerisms and watch them develop into themselves. And, you know, and of course we play a major part in that. You know, kids do what they see, not what you say. So we always are very careful with what we illustrate in front of our children, you know, especially what comes out of our mouths and the things that we want them to believe in. So we, you know, we want to encourage them to have higher goals, and we always push those goals. You know, make sure that they're you know going for the gusto and not settling for the what's beneath them. So we always push them to strive for the best. So, and that's part of the homeschooling. Homeschooling was a choice that we made about a little over 7 years ago, that we decided to homeschool, and we just felt like that we could do a better job of teaching our children what really matters. No knock against public school, but I went to public school, but you know, we wanted to teach them things about, you know, the, you know, real Black history instead of the history, you know, that happens today. Um, it's kind of funny that this year in particular, we I think we're about 3.5 weeks into the new year, and you know, I was kind of going through some of the lesson plan with my one of my youngest daughters. We were going through history, and it was hard for me to read it because I didn't believe it. So I had to kind of navigate and read what was there, but also explain what wasn't there. So it's a challenge, yet one worth taking. So understand the truth.
Yeah, I have a deep passion for history. So if I wasn't getting the credential that I'm getting, I would probably be getting a history credential. I love history, and what I learned, and I didn't learn this until college, is that history is really the history that's taught is really somebody's perspective, right? So some of it is lies, but some of it is somebody's truth, right? But it's not the entire truth, right? And a lot of our children have been left out of the discussion of who they are in history, right? Because they never seen them in history. So they can never, you know, understand the kings and queens that are in their lineage, right? The great thinkers, philosophers, and mathematicians, and all of those things, right? Physicians, that's in their history, because none of that stuff is taught. You're taught this one person's or one people's perspective, and it causes a lot of error, and I think it causes a lot of people to not have the confidence as being a Black person. You know, you lose that confidence because you don't know your history. Yeah, it's strange. Some of that stuff you don't even want to teach your kids, because it's like, come on now, this is gonna open up the door for us to really have a real discussion about the America we live in, right? The land of the free.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's great. That's great that you're doing that. Talk about some of the business things that you do, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I trade. I'm a forex trader. I've been doing that for about a little over almost 6 months now, and it's been very it's been a lot of fun. I was actually intimidated before I learned about the actual skill set of it. I was really intimidated. I didn't think I could do it, but once I started, first of all, I remembered that I'm a child of God, and I can do all things through who strengthens me. So, and I had to remember. So I had to take that challenge, and I jumped in, and it was still a little confusing. My wife and I kind of looked at each other like this. What did we get ourselves into? But once we dove into it and we followed the educators, it's become a true blessing for us, man. I mean, if you and then the education piece behind it as well. My daughter, my 9-year-old daughter, the one I was just telling you about with the history, she actually has an account, and I've been teaching her how to read it, and she knows how to do it just as well as I do. And if I'm in here trading by myself, or she says, "Are you in here trading by yourself? You didn't call me." So she likes it. She likes it. So I think, again, kids do what they see, not what you say. So that I'm also a speaker as well. I try to educate the young and also speak with the men about how to step into their positions. I hadn't always been the person that I am today. I had to learn those skill sets. I had to learn how to be that man or a husband and father, for that matter. And I considered it a blessing. I went to the source and I just asked God how to be that. And He began my spirit and guided me through the words of wisdom in the Bible, and that peace that passes all understanding began to flow through my spirit, and nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I used to be. So I'm pretty blessed and highly favored in that regard. So, and that's me in a nutshell. Author, very that. So I'm actually getting ready to do a new anthology with men. I'm actually working with some brothers right now. They were actually on my podcast last week, and we're talking about Fathers Matter from the perspective of how fathers are parenting in our society today. And those brothers did an amazing job talking about it. They laid out the blueprint, and we're actually going to have a part 2 and 3 possibly, because we have about let's see, 10 brothers that we're going to bring on. So we're probably going to have 2 more shows, and these brothers to share their perspective of why they decided to be a part of the project. And then I'm also working with some NFL players as well as entertainers and pastors around the country. We have a group called Boys in Blue that we're partnering with. And that's a mentorship program for young women and young men as far as helping them realize their full potential. So that's going to be a blessing. So my wife and I are partnering with that as well, along with special needs. We have a special needs daughter as well. So it's been a true blessing. And I always tell people, your purpose is not for you. Your purpose is designed for you inside, but it's usually for someone else's use, not yours. The only glory you get from it is being to perform it from. Then you're left with that blueprint or that footprint, so to speak, in the earth when you're gone. So yeah, that's your purpose. That's a true purpose. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you've seen the show before. I'm gonna throw out 10 words to you, and I want you to just tell me
Oh, wow.
the first thing that comes to mind. So the first word that we're going to,
Okay.
The first word is going to be vision.
Wow. Vision, future. That's future. That's the first word that comes out of my mind. Future.
Future. Right? Because the vision is for an appointed time. It's not for now. It is for an appointed time. So that's great. What about purpose?
Yeah. Man, I like I said, I mean, others. That's when I think about purpose, I think about others. Others, not I think about others is what I think about.
All right. This is an easy one. Game. Game.
What was it? What was it again?
Game. Game. Game.
I didn't hear it. What was it?
Game.
Game. Oh, wow. Oh, man. What comes to my game? Win.
Win. Hey,
Win.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
The next word is team. Team.
Diversity.
Awesome. Progress.
Mm. Oof. Progress. There's a lot of things pop in my head when I hear progress. Man, oh man, can't even pick one. Progress. Inheritance, I guess. I don't. Progress. Motion. 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 Keep moving.
Motion.
Mhm.
I like that inheritance piece though, because really when you are progressive, you're thinking about how do you leave that legacy, right? That inheritance for someone
Exactly.
else.
Yes.
That's progression, right?
Yeah.
When you leave this earth,
Mhm.
other people have something tangible, right? And not debt to hold on to, that you've gifted them. Time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Choices. I think of when I think of time, I think of my choices.
Wow,
Mhm.
elaborate.
If I'm gonna use one word, well, when I value what who and I spend it. When I spend it on, time is the currency for life. That's it's what pay. Time is what you pay. It's the currency that you pay for achieving your goals or lack thereof. So how I spend it, who I spend it, what I spend it on is very important. So that's
Yeah,
is
I
it
think a
one
lot of
word or a
times people have
phrase?
it twisted. I think. Well,
Yeah.
no. I wanted to hear you talk about that, because I think that some people have it twisted, because I think some people put more value on money than they do their time. And when you
No.
when you prioritize money over your time, you're going to eventually run out of money and have no time to gain it back, right? Money is always something that you
Amen.
can
Yes,
do.
sir.
I was listening to a brother of mine, his podcast, and they were talking about dating or whatever. And the girl said something, but it made
Mhm.
sense about life. She was talking about the money that the man pays for the dinner. She was like, you could go work overtime and get that money back. She said, I can get the time that I sat at the table back. I can't get it back. And it's true. We spend time on people and we spend time
Right.
doing
Yeah.
things that we can never get back, right? And we spend time chasing
Yes.
money, that we can get money if we have control of time, right? And we don't have to chase money if we are good stewards of our time, right?
Amen.
So that just made me think about it. I was like, yeah, we waste a lot of time and we can never give it back. It's a gift that God's given us. We don't know how much he's given it to us, right? We don't know how much is in our account left
We don't.
of time. So we got to make the most of it. I believe Jesus said, night cometh. He said, I'm going to work the works of him who has sent me while it is day, because night cometh. There's going to be a time when you not going to have time. I like
Wow.
that.
That's right.
The next thing is expert.
Say it one more time.
Expert.
Expert. Expert. When I think expert, I think knowledgeable. Knowledgeable. I think expert is a person that has the information that most people need or don't have. That is the expert. Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's powerful in what you just said, because a lot of people are intimidated by learning from an expert, right? they feel like that that expert is just too grand, too great, or that they're too insignificant. But if you want to be great, you got to be a student under someone who's an expert, right? Don't become a student under a novice.
Yes, I have a saying that I hadn't said it in a while, but I actually used it last week, I believe, and I remember saying it at a training one time, and got a lot of positive response from it. But it goes as, if you're able to be small enough, long enough, in God's timing, He'll allow you to become big enough soon enough.
Wait, you got to say that again. Say that again.
I said, if you can allow yourself to be small enough, meaning not be in the spotlight, or just be able to be patient and wait for God to bring you forth. So if you're able to be small enough, long enough, in God's timing, He'll allow you to become big enough soon enough. Yeah, you write that one down. That one's going down in the history books.
I just took my little clip notes of that.
Yeah,
because I wasn't expecting that. We may not get to the other rest of the words because we need to really take in that. So if we allow, can we park right there for a minute? Because if we're small enough, long enough, right? Which really speaks about humility, right? Humility, learning, really self-sacrifice, keeping your ego in check, your pride in check. If you can be small enough, long enough, then God, did you say then God will make you big enough soon enough?
In God's timing, He'll allow you to become big enough soon enough.
My God. We tonight, Brother Derrick, we there are some people looking at us who are feeling like they're insignificant. They're feeling like that everybody's overlooking them. They're feeling like opportunities have passed them by. And I just feel like, for what you said, that God is speaking to those people, letting them know you just have to stay in that small space long enough. There's some character development. There's some gift development. There's some things that God is doing in that small moment, right? And He also wants to trust that you're going to trust Him. So if you can stay in that small space, my brother or my sister, for a little bit longer, in God's timing, He's going to make you big enough soon enough. Did I get that right, bro?
Yes, absolutely. And let me add this to it. So let me say this, and I want to say this right. During that small enough period, your destination is waiting on you. Your destination is waiting on you. And what I mean by that, God is like Pastor Beard just said, He's developing you in that moment, in right now where you are. He's developing you to get you ready for that particular destination, right? The destination is already there, but He's got to do some things in you, so when you get there, you can stay there. Yeah.
Wow.
My theme, or my motto for 2017 and 18 and half of 19 was preparation until, and I got that from Mr. Desmond Antonio Blackburn. Preparation until. So you got to use your downtime as prep time. Use your downtime to prep. Do those things. Get your mind together. Put what's down in the well comes up in the bucket. The things that you need to prepare in the head, so when you get there, you'll be ready. You're not going to have time to get ready when it's time to be ready. So stay ready, so you never had to get ready. So that was my motto, was just, so I don't think it's strange that these things are happening in my life right now, because I was ready. I was getting ready. So promotion is here, and I'm ready. We're not even done yet. We actually haven't even begun.
Wow.
We're getting started.
That's powerful, because I remember when I was in college, I was studying something, and in a group, and someone brought up the characteristics of a camel. And they say that a camel, and I haven't ridden a camel, haven't been next to a camel yet, but I'm going, right. I'm going to South Africa, and that's where I want to get, and or Middle East somewhere, and get on me a camel. But I hear that what they do is that when they have water, they take in all this water in their body, and then they can go hundreds of miles not needing water, while other animals need water and this and that, based off of the reservoir, I guess, that they take in when we're around water. And that stuck with me as a person, is that you got to maximize every moment that God gives you. And when there's downtime, it's not time to do nothing. Downtime is time for development, right? I remember that I was working for a company, and there were other leaders that were just experts, just great leaders that I worked around. So I had to develop a hunger for personal development. So while other people were sitting around talking about nothing, or in the break rooms watching the games, I was at my desk reading a book, developing myself, right? That downtime, and all of that stuff that I learned during that downtime, I'm starting to see that stuff being useful, in ministry, in family, in other business endeavors that I have. And it was because I maximized that downtime, and it goes back to that redeeming the time, being aware of your time, how you use it, and how you manage it. Because what may be downtime to somebody else is development time for you.
Amen.
That's all I got. So yeah,
Yes.
that one I'm gonna be asking you to give me the real quote for that to use, because I just took my clip notes, because I love that. And I'm doing a training on Tuesday nights with leaders. That's what we're dedicating our Bible study at church, on leadership, being a kingdom leader.
Okay.
And I'm bringing in both the biblical aspect, but also the aspect of me working in corporate America for 15 years in management. You learn the leadership principles, right? Because God is requiring us to be leaders. He created us to be leaders. If you study the book of Revelation, you understand, and that's what we're doing on Sunday mornings, studying the book of Revelation. And my church is starting to see that our eternity is not going to be us jumping around praising, saying hallelujah, singing in the clouds, but our eternity is going to be in this new heaven and this new earth, right? And it's going to be an eternity of us being in some type of leadership role. God is going to give us some responsibility, because that's what he created us to be. So why not become a leader now? If I'm going to be a leader for eternity, then I'm going to work on being the best leader that I can be right now, so that he can say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many.
Wow. I received that.
All right.
I received that.
I thank you. I thank you for that. That really, really blessed me. Two scriptures that I wanted to read. One scripture is Colossians 3:23. It says, whatever you do, you need to do it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, right? That's the first scripture that I want to kind of guide our conversation today as we talk about men are builders. That Colossian scriptures where it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, right? So he said, don't get it twisted. Whatever you do, understand you're doing it to the Lord, for the Lord. And you got to look at it. Everything you do, whether you're a father, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are an educator, whether you are an athlete, a judge, whatever it is that you are, understand that you have no human masters. You may have people that you report to, that you report up to, but they are not your masters. You are doing what you are doing, and you need to know that you're doing it as you're working it for the Lord. You need to do it as if you're working it for the Lord. The second scripture that I want to go, and then I'm going to let you have a field day, is in First Corinthians, and this is really where the manor builders came from, because it was Paul, and Paul was saying, basically, he says in First Corinthians 3, 10 through 15, he says, by the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should build with care. I'm just going to stop there. By the grace God has given me, I have laid the foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should build with care. Derrick, as we are talking about man are builders, what are your thoughts as we discuss that topic tonight?
Man, that's I think about, anytime you build something, the nation's intact. I heard Miles Monroe say that a building can still build building even if it doesn't have walls. But if the foundation is cracked, everything has to come up. Everything has to come up. So the foundation, in my mind, is the man. The walls are our wives or our wife. So, and if you don't have a solid foundation to stand on, it reminds me of when God, he's been calling me for a long time. For a long time, I ran from him because I didn't want to adhere to the straight path, and it wasn't, it still hasn't been a straight path. So that was all a mind game that I had in my own mind. But when he was calling me, he had to tear down some of the misconceived or misperceptions of what I had in my mind about what I felt I needed to do in order to become the man that I am today. And he had to tear that down. But by tearing that down, that was painful, because I had to let go of some ideas that I thought were true, that were not true, and then had to build me back up. As a matter of fact, my show this coming Friday is going to be Rebuild Me. That's the title, Rebuild Me, and it's perfect.
Wow.
I'm always fascinated how God just put things together, man. I mean, it just amazes me how he shows up in my life in so many different ways, whether it's through my children or through a stranger or through my wife or something that I'm watching. I'm usually watching a virtual audio, and there's so many things that I hear in the spirit, and I prayed for it. I prayed for a lot of different things over the course of my life, but there's 4 things that I prayed for: discernment, and that will speak. I'll allow God to speak through me and be able to hear things that people don't say when they talk. I want to be able to discern what they're saying and what they're not saying. And then I wanted a how-to spirit. I've been blessed to have the impactfulness of seeing things before they actually manifest, and sometimes he doesn't show me the how-to. So I wanted a how-to spirit. In other words, I wanted to go through it with grace. Sometimes it's a blessing and a curse to be able to see it, but not see it. So I wanted a graceful spirit to get to the destination. As we always want to know, well, God, how am I going to do that? But he always tells me the how is none of your business. You just walk in faith. I get it. Wherever I get, provide. So, but yeah, when I think of that, I think about foundation. I think about, the man being the foundation. And most of us have been taught that the man is the head of the house, on top. No, he's not on top. He's on the bottom. He's what's holding the family up. He's holding the family up. And I'm a stronger stronger role of the man and what that looks like. That should how operate in that role. And a man shouldn't have to feel like he has to announce what he does for his family. It's something you're supposed to do. It's reasonable service. You know, for an example, I'm a part of this group on Facebook dealing with fathers, and one of the questions, and husbands for that matter, one of the questions was, do you pump the gas for your wife every time? Yes. If you're in the car or in the vicinity, your wife should never open her own door or pump her own gas. That's a man's job. That's what we're supposed to do. That's reasonable service. That's not anything extra. That's what you're supposed to do. That's like the basic. That's at the bottom. That's at the bottom. So that's what you're supposed to do. So we have to go back to the rebuilding of the real man and teach men how to be men. Those that don't really understand how to do that, we need to just show them and teach them the values. And then we also have to help, foreshape some of the young women who have the mindset that they have to have half their clothes off to get noticed, and that's not true. You're going to get noticed, but it won't be by the man you're looking for. It'll be by the man you're not looking for. That's just a little information there for the young ladies that are out there that are watching it. You don't have to undress yourself to get attention. You're not your curves. You're not your backside. You're not your front side. You're a whole masterpiece. I teach my daughters this all the time. When you present yourself to a man, you need to present yourself in an image that's respectful and courteous and thoughtful and meek. So he'll be desiring to take you back to meet his mom. Trust me, if he's not thinking about getting you back to meet his mom, you're not the one. So I just got off on a whole nother subject, but anyway.
Somebody needed to hear that. Somebody needed to hear that. Somebody said, say that again. Faye McNulty, she said, say that again. You don't have to. But I think it goes all back to understanding that first of all, I think that the man, we look at men and fatherhood, right? And it is vital for a young man to have a male figure. But I think it's equally as vital for our young women to have a man, a father who can show them really who they are and the value that they are, so that when someone comes to spit that game, she already knows her value, right? She's not going seeking attention, or he's not going out seeking the approval of his homies and all that stuff. Why? Because he has a father at home who's approving of the purpose that's in his life, right? So I think that we oftentimes forget
Amen.
about how valuable the male is and the father is, even to his daughter. And it's critical that as men in our community, whether you are a father or you're not a father, that you step up and you be a father, not only to your children, but if the neighbor next door, if the father is absent, then you take that child with you and your children to the park sometimes, right? You make sure that you do that, because we have that responsibility, and that is how we change really the dynamics within our culture. So I think that's good.
Absolutely.
And so we are building as men. We are not just building men. We're not just building boys, but we are building people, and that's our role as husbands, as fathers. Like you said, that we are that foundation, and if that foundation is secure, it goes back to the verse that's underneath, that Paul said. He says that I laid the foundation as a wise builder. How do you know that the foundation is wise? Because other people can build on top of it, right? So the husband, you're the
Yes.
foundation of the family. Um, uh, your wife is building on top of you, whatever her business is, whatever her dreams is, whatever her purpose is. It could be just to stay at home, which is a job, right? But whatever it is, she's building, and what's making her able to build what God has placed inside of her is the foundation that she has laid her life on, which is you, the husband, right? The children, they're able to build, right? And you gotta at that time, as a foundation, as a man, you got to understand that there's timing for everything. When you lay a foundation, you can't immediately start building on that foundation. You got to give that stuff, to give that foundation time to stabilize, to dry, and all that stuff. So as a master builder, you know when the foundation is laid right for your family, for your community, for your business, whatever it is, you know when that foundation is laid, and then you are the one who approves the building on top of that foundation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So all you women that say I can do it myself, I don't need no man, and I'm gonna be the mom and the dad. Just as a man cannot be a mom, a woman cannot be a dad. Okay. So we need to get that out. We need to get over our personal our immaturity, and sometimes, you know what I mean, and we need to work together and make sure that fathers are allowed to be around their children, right? We got to make sure that and it has to be responsible fathers. We got to make sure that the father is responsible, but that they are allowed to be around their children. And let me tell you something, brother. It's a lot easier if you just wait and you pick the right one. I'm just gonna be straight up with you, and nobody really says this, but it's a lot better if you just wait, keep your zipper together, and you wait for that right one. It's gonna save you. In church they say he prophesying. I'm prophesying to you, young man. It's gonna save you in your checking account. It's gonna save you with your benefits.
Oh Lord.
It's gonna save you with your health, and it's just gonna save you with your sanity. And most importantly, it's going to allow that those children that you do have, that you are part of their lives, is going to help easily navigate to their purpose, right? When we are absent from our children's life, it makes it difficult for them to navigate to their purpose. And they get all kind of trips and falls. So we're there, you're helping them navigate there. So you need to make sure that you are making wise decisions, young man, and young women. You have to make sure that you are making wise decisions, not just noun decisions.
That's good. That's good. I'm gonna have to type amen in the comment section on that one.
but I love this concept, and I think when I think back, you mentioned Miles Monroe. I wasn't Miles Monroe was boring to me, right? At some point in my life, and I went to you mentioned Texas too. TD Jakes had a man's conference. I think it was somewhere around 2008 or something like that. And it was titled "Man Are Builders." And Miles Monroe was there, and my brother David Michael David. He told me, we were sitting in one of the conferences and they were talking about Miles Monroe, and I was like, I'm just gonna go back to my room and I'm just gonna sit out because I don't want to go to sleep on them. He was like, man, Miles Monroe, that man is powerful. And from that conversation with my brother, I stayed in that session, changed my world, right? Transformed my world. To really understand the responsibility of being a father, a responsibility of being a husband, right? And I can see over the years how God is molding me and making me better in those areas, right? through my exposure to those teachings, right? Of what it is to really be a kingdom man in your family. And I think that
Yes.
that's missing a lot it's missing from our communities. And a lot of times it's missing from our communities because it's honestly missing from our churches. Our pastors don't really teach us how to be kingdom man, right? There's so many other agendas there. The deacons don't teach us how, and actually they're teaching us how not to be, a lot of them, right? So I think that whole message has been pushed out somewhat of the church, which has definitely impacted our communities, because if a father is not found anywhere in a community, a young man or a young woman should be able to step foot in a church, and they should see a father, right? A father figure. My dad is a father figure. He's 85 years old, and he's like the community father figure on the block. It don't matter how somebody smell. It don't matter if somebody has, is on drugs or alcohol or feeling themselves that day. They got respect for my dad, and my dad respects them as a person. Even at church, there's other people who call my dad their dad, right? And I remember when I first became the pastor of the church, the Holy Spirit was speaking to me and was saying, we're so women focused. And I mean to say anything wrong with that, but we have others board. And the Holy Spirit said that, where's the father's board? So I made, the head, the oldest deacon, the father that's been the father to everybody. He's the father of the church, right? So when people come in, they don't just see mothers, but they see fathers. They see men. They see older men that are mature, that have carried responsibility for their family, and they can help support another young man and show other young men how to do it. And I've seen it work. It worked at our church. I've seen young men really come to my dad and ask him questions when they're about to get married, or when they're having marital problems, or when they're, having children problems and things like that. They go to him, right? Because he's the father, not taken away from God the Father, of course, but he's that male figure that can guide people in the ways of the Lord, right? What do you have to say? I'm sorry, I've been talking.
Oh no, that's fine. I totally agree with you. I think the church has got a bad rap, and have focused more so on religion instead of relationship. And I believe that the church was designed to teach the men how to be men. That's what the church is supposed to do. It's supposed to be reminding us of what God commanded us as men to do. And then we're supposed to lead our families to the church. We should be leading the church services, men. And that we see a lot of women in church, and the devil is pretty cool with that. So we got to change that narrative. We got to change that. We should be getting up early and say, hey, let's go. Everybody get up. Let's go to church. Make your own time. Let's go. But that's not happening. So, and it's by design.
It's the same way with it's the same way with educating our children. Like as men, we need to make sure that we are involved in what our children are educated. It's been a great experience for me to sit here with my son for this kindergarten, right? This virtual kindergarten. And it's been cool because I'm able to see, as you see greatness, you learn the greatness of a person by how they learn. You can learn how you can see the leadership in a person by how good of a student they are, right? So I'm seeing things in my son that I probably would have never seen had I not, been as instrumental as now, that we are, right? So I think that in the kingdom, there's room for everybody to do something. But I think that sometimes we devalue male role, that male role is devalued. And then some of it is it goes back to slavery and all that stuff. And I know that we've been, out of slavery for all these hundreds of years, right? These few hundreds of years. But it was psychological. It was strategic. And part of the strategy
Exactly.
was to remove the black male from the family, right? And then once that black male now can come back to the family, he doesn't know how to, right? Because there's not a blueprint, so to speak, of how to be a man, right? And that's what you're doing, right? With Man of Fortitude, providing that blueprint. But most
Yes.
men don't have it.
Yes.
Most men.
Absolutely. So my 9-year-old daughter said something to me. It's been a couple of weeks now. She said to me, we were doing work, and she said, "Daddy, why do you think God allowed COVID-19 to come in and stop us from being able to go to the movies and go on our, because we usually travel every 3 or 4 months going somewhere different, and she says we haven't been able to travel that much like we used to, and a lot of people are getting sick, and we got to wear masks everywhere we go. Why do you think God allowed that?" And for a moment, I didn't really have an answer for her. I told her, let me get back to you on that question, because I didn't have and that's another thing. You got to be vulnerable with your kids. If you don't know the answer, say, "Baby, you know what? I'm not sure." That's, let me get back to you. And then when I got back to it, which was a few minutes later, I thought, first of all, it was thoughtful. I couldn't believe that she asked me that question. Number two, I had to give her an answer that she can understand. So I had to think from that perspective. So what did I end up doing is telling her, I believe that God allowed COVID-19 to exist because he wanted to put the order. He wanted to make us realize what was important versus what we thought was important. He wanted us to take a step back and start to work on our purpose, our work, instead of our jobs. We spend a whole lot of time running from here to there, but missing some of the most important things, like you mentioned, the joy of being able to sit down and do the virtual school with your son, and you're seeing things that you would not have seen if you were at work. So by me being able to sit or be in that vicinity for her to ask that question and me to be able to give her an answer was a blessing in itself. So I think that men need to, and this is not about being perfect. This is about progress, not perfection, but progress. So you need to be an active participant in your children's lives. Presence only lasts for a few minutes, but your presence will last for a lifetime. So we have to be involved in their lives on a day-to-day basis. And I know it's hard sometimes because I have 4 different kids by 4 different women. So it's hard to be where you need to be when you put yourself in a situation like that. But there is a way to be able to do that. Phone call. I used to set my phone. I used to set my alarm on my phone to call my, because I in my, so I thought I was so busy that I had to set an alarm. And when that alarm went off, that didn't mean, oh, snooze. No, that means everything stopped. Doesn't matter what I was doing. I stopped everything that I was doing, and I went somewhere and I called because she was expecting for me to call. And that's another thing. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't say you're going to do something and not do it. That is, we know how that feels. We were kids, and he said he was going to do it, and he didn't show up. He didn't call. That's not good. So we have the gift we never had, and that's to be a father. That's it. That's the prize that God gave us. We now have the gift that we were wanting for the whole time, and that's to step into our role as a father. So now we need to take advantage of it, and we
Wow.
need to do it. And like I said, wherever God guides, he provides. So all you got to do is step in it by faith.
Yeah.
You got to step in it by faith. God provides everything else for you. I'm not talking about something I read. I'm talking about something I know. I've done this. And you just have to be consistent. Consistent.
Yep.
You can either be consistent at not doing it or be consistent at doing it. So it's a choice. There you go. Men are builders.
And
we
And let me
build,
tell you
we
something
build
that
our children's self-esteem. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that when we are talking about that you don't have time and that time isn't something that you have. You have 60 minutes per hour. We have 1,440 minutes in one day. You got 10,080 minutes in a week. 43,800
Wow.
minutes in a month. 525,600 minutes in a year. So if you look back over the
Talk about
last
it.
525,600 minutes in the last 12 months of your life, how much of that was really wasted? And what are you going to do now for the next
Awesome question.
525,600 minutes, right? What am I going to do next with that time? You can do some great things. And let me tell you, when you said something about you got to step out, you know, and you just got to acknowledge what basically God is telling you to do, and you got to do it. Sometimes the favor of God, I think I posted this on Facebook when the Holy Spirit gave it to me. Sometimes the favor of God is disguised in a risk, which means that sometimes you got to step out into an unknown. And a lot of people are waiting for things to be perfect, waiting for things to be comfortable. And God is just waiting for you to step out of the boat, Peter, and walk on the water to him. And all of your provision is there. Everything that you need is going to be provided for you, as you said. But it requires you to be in the right place, right? I believe that God created our lives from the end to the beginning. He knows our purpose. And I believe that he has. Have you?
Yes.
You've traveled, right? So they have things along the road, especially when you drive trucks. They call it rest stops or truck stops, right? And these places are strategically on the road, where if you're traveling that road, you can go for the bathroom, get a little vending machine, because there's no other place on the road for miles, right? For you to get those things, right? So you get a little soda, you go use the bathroom. You can maybe just chill out on the bench there and rest, or you can park your car. But they're strategic, right? And if you're a truck driver, and you follow a route, because I used to ride with my uncle, he knows the next city over where that truck stop is, right? Because he's traveled it enough to know, and he knows that he can stop at this place all the time because it's a truck stop. There are stops that God has established in the route in our lives, right? And in that truck stop is everything that we need to refuel. It's our joy, it's our peace, it's our strength, it's our creativity, it's more passion, it's the energy that we need. All that stuff he's placed it at that rest stop. But the rest stop or the truck stops are designed along the path that we're supposed to be following him on. So if we drift off of that path, then we never run into our rest stop. We never run into our, and then we get burnt out. And then we run out of fuel. We run out of creativity. Why? Because we drifted off of the path that God has destined, and everything that we need is along the path as long as we follow him, right? But he's not going to make us follow him.
Yes. That's right. That's
So what
true.
say you?
That's true. Man, yeah, he's definitely going to make you. You know, I heard it mentioned like this. Well, first of all, God can't do anything in the earth without man, and man cannot do anything in the earth without God. But God also put his own law that he has to abide by, and that's we have the option to choose him or refuse him. We have the option to choose him or refuse him. So when we refuse him, we lock him out of our affairs. That's why prayer is so important. Prayer is so important. It's your communication line to God, which allows him to come. See, he's sitting in most cases, call me. Call on me. I can help you. Call on me. But you have to choose. You have to call on him. And then when you call on him, it gives him the authority to come into your situation. That's how powerful prayer is. People are missing
My God.
prayer. You think you're just talking. No, you're not just talking. You're asking to intervene. So when you talk already done. When you talk to him, you speak to him as if he's already done it. You're talking to the creation, the creator, not the creation. You're talking to the creator.
Wow.
I hope you got that, man. I hope you got that, because it took me time to understand. When I pray, I demand things. I learned how to do that. It says it in his word. My life has to be successful for his name's sake.
Wow.
Just like this phone. If this phone does not work, Apple is in trouble. It's because their names on the line. So if I don't work or I'm not successful, now it comes with instructions. Now it comes with instructions, just like I came with the word. So you got to make sure you're reading the word, and by his word you can be successful. But you have to know the word. I hope y'all getting this.
Wow.
First of all, I'm not a Bible thumper. I just learned a few scriptures that have helped change the trajectory of my life and my family's life. So, for example, Proverbs 13:22, a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children's children. Okay, then I asked God, okay, God, what is a righteous man? I want to know what a righteous man is. Okay, once I learn what a righteous man is, I become that. Here it is right here in the word. So I simply begin to operate day by day, minute by minute, just doing those things. I don't know if you ever read the book, The Slight Edge or The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. You do a little bit at a time, and over time, it's like going to the gym. You can't go to the gym once or twice a week for 2 weeks and then expect to get ripped. You got to go a little bit every day over a period of time. It's like credit. Over a period of time, and then you'll start to see results. But you have to do it consistently. You have to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm. And
that's what I want to help teach men. When we build our families, like he said, you have to let it dry. You got to do a little piece at a time. And you have to do it with urgency. You have to do it with specific things. You have to keep it aligned. So it's not perfect, but progress. So others can build on top of it. Foundation. That's what you're putting in place. And just because you didn't have the foundation doesn't mean you can't build the foundation. So the lie that says that, well, I can't be a father because I don't know how to be a father. That's a lie. That's a lie from the pit of hell. You know how to be a father because you were once a child who didn't have a father. So do what you want it to be done for you. That's how you be a good father. You do what was missing from your life. And then you ask God for the rest. Boom, there it is.
And that excuse works when you're, I say that excuse works when you're under 25. But if you're over 25 and you're still talking about you can't be a father because you don't know how to be a father, it's your responsibility now to go and look for somebody who is a father, and you say, hey, brother, I want to learn how to be a father from you because I didn't have that. If you're over 25, you should be capable of going out, finding that mentor to get you there. Fatherhood, Derrick, God blew my mind with this years ago. He said it's that when the disciples asked Jesus, how do we pray? He said, this is how you pray. Our Father, which art in heaven. So many people cannot go any further with that prayer because they don't have a good taste in their mouth about the word Father, right? And I believe that it's our call as kingdom man to give that example of what a father is So when people are being connected to Father God, they don't have the only thing they have now is just memory of how bad their father was, or how absent their father was. It's my desire to
Right.
be that type of father that when people hear the word father, even if they didn't have a father, they can say Marcus was a father. I've seen Marcus with his children. I've seen Derrick with his children. I've seen this brother with his children. So I know that there are some good fathers out there. So now I can trust God to be my father. Does that make sense? Uh,
Absolutely.
so man, we got a job to
I
do.
I ex Yeah, we do. You like?
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I was when I had the gentleman on the show, one of the questions I asked him two questions that I felt that needed to be asked, and one question was, do you remember in your childhood ever having a male teacher growing? But your coach. We're not talking about your coach. We're talking about a teacher. A teacher. And I had a math teacher. I only had one. So but I asked these guys, they I think one of them said they remember having one, and it was a lasting impression on his life. That one male teacher. He ran several years after he had graduated in college. He ran into him and hadn't seen him since. But it's amazing how a male teacher has such an influence on a young man's life, and a young woman for that matter, and a young woman for that matter. And the other question I asked him was, because the book that they're writing is called Fathers Matter, and it's coming from the perspective of men, black men specifically, parenting positively, being active and involved. So I asked him, knowing what you know today, if you had an opportunity to go back and speak to the 21-year-old version of yourself, what would you say to that individual? Because there was a backside to that question, was because we now have children that age in the 20s. So it's almost metaphorically looking in the mirror anyway, because now you have the opportunity to say it to yourself, because your children are a reflection of you. They're not yours, they belong to God, but you're stewardship over them. So now you have an opportunity to speak to yourself in this moment, what you would say to yourself if you had the opportunity to go back and say something. So I often think about that. What would I say to myself? Because at 21, man, let me tell you, I wasn't crazy, but I wasn't focused. So if I had to say anything to myself, I would say, be patient, slow down, develop your relationship with God. Tap into that. Read the Bible. I didn't read the Bible till 2014. 2014.
Wow.
I had nothing else to do. I was unemployed. I was living in a motel. I was at my wit's end. I thought I was going to take my own life. I didn't have a choice. It was either that or die. So I was my first time reading the Bible, and man, it opened my eyes. I didn't even know some of those things that happened, and it made a whole lot of sense what was going on in my life when I read that Bible. It made a whole lot of sense, and I had just I had just reached my 40 year. I jumped into my 40s. My whole life changed after 40. After 40, my whole life changed. So there's just something about 40. When a man turns 40, a lot of things change in his life. He begins to look at his life and begins to should ask himself when he was 30, because we correcting our mistakes in our 30s, the mistakes that we made in our 20s, we use our 30s to make those right, and then the mistakes that we made in our 30s, we use our 40s So we're always playing catch up. So I would love to be able to speak into a young man's life and begin to help him navigate and make better decisions. That's my come from my heart, to be able to speak into a young woman, for that matter. But I believe that if we can fix the man problem, we can fix every problem. Everything begins and ends with fixing the man, rebuilding the man. Rebuilding the man. And I don't mean rebuilding. I mean rebuilding here, changing his philosophies and changing his relationship with God. We need to establish one. Yeah.
Wow, you said a few things, brother, because I turned 40 in June, and I'm definitely seeing just a different, maybe I was giving this coronavirus too much credit. Maybe it's because I'm going into that, my 40s, but I'm just really focused, and I don't have the time. I really don't have nonsense, and not so much the nonsense from other people, but the nonsense from myself, right? So I'm like really I am totally in a place of I think rebuilding, kind of my life, right? At 40, in the direction, and not going with what was comfortable or what I'm good at, but really walking in purpose. I'll tell you this. You talked about this yesterday. Well, let me say this again. Last year or the year before last, one of those, I think it was last year. I pulled something in my back and I hurt my sciatic nerve. And if you know anybody that's had that, it's a horrible feeling, right? So the last couple of days I've been feeling that way, and I've been feeling these various pains, just coming on my body, and I felt, yesterday I told my wife, I said I feel like I'm having this, this sciatic nerve pain again. I remember when I was going through therapy for it. I remember the therapist, aside from the exercises that they told me to do, one of the things that they were saying is that the heavier that you are, the more pain you're going to feel, right? So this morning I could not sleep, bro. Like, I'm sorry, Derrick. I'm sorry to call you bro, but I could not sleep. And
No, it's cool.
I just got up. I got up. I jumped up. And this morning, I go up every morning and I go and run or walk or jog. But this morning I was committed. I said that I got to get some of this weight off my body, because at this point, if the sciatic thing comes back, it's going to come back, but I want to be prepared for it. Right. So in order to prepare for it, I have to make sure that I get my body right. Right. So now my legs are hurting. My arms are hurting because I really went in this morning. Right. Because I want to make sure that if this thing is going to come back, that I'm going to be ready to fight this thing. Right. So it was and for the last couple of months, I've been trying to lose weight, running and all that stuff. But it was me talking to my wife yesterday and those words coming out my mouth saying that I feel like this thing's coming back. And then I went and got the resistance bands today. The therapist, when I went to him, they told me that, the little exercises doing. So I'm going to do all of those things, because I'm not going to let a sciatic pain or an injury from last year when I wasn't walking in my purpose to interfere with me doing the things that God has called me to do, and that I'm walking into right now. So I'm going to prepare for it, right? I don't know if I said that, but I tell you, man, that it changed when you understand who you are and you understand what God has for you. Then you need to do whatever it takes to make sure that you can present God with what He's put inside of you to present to Him with, where you can do whatever it is that He has called you to do. And sometimes it takes you going out losing weight. Sometimes it takes you reading a book. Sometimes it takes you meditating. Sometimes it takes you taking a course and sitting and being a student, right? Sometimes it takes you being small, you know, for that short amount of time or that long amount of time or whatever it feels like, right? In order for the development to happen, so that you can be who God has created you to be, because we are called to build, and we can't let nothing stop us from building. Um, I'm going to let you go. We got about 10 minutes left. I'm just going to let you flow, and talk to the audience, and just begin to just help somebody, that some man or some woman that's listening, to understand the importance of starting to build their life.
Wow, man. I mean, first of all, this was a blessing to be able to speak on a platform like this, and allow God will always use people. He will always use people to convey his words to his people. So if you're listening to this podcast or this webisode and you're on here, this is for you. God doesn't, the word coincidence it's not a word, it's a man-made word. So
Wow.
the fact that you're here, you're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be getting this that you're getting. So my prayer for you is that you go back through, listen to the things that we spoke about today, especially if you're a man and you're watching this, because our masculinity is under attack right now. To be a man of integrity, to be a man of worth and value and substance and and I said value, but that's not common. That's not
Nope.
warranted. It's not even, it's like a unicorn.
Wow.
It's a unicorn. So when you
Wow.
if you are that man, we need your help. We need you to partner with us so we can reach out and we can begin to switch the pendulum back into our favor. Because we're at war right now, spiritual war. And we can't fight it in the flesh. We have to fight it in the spirit. We gotta come together. By us coming together itself is already a weapon by itself, by us coming together. So if you're a man and or a woman listening to this, please go back and revisit some of the things talked about. You can reach out to me at contact@menoffortitude.information. My first name is on the screen. You can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, the Blueprint for FOR men, and on Facebook it's the Blueprint #4 for men, number 4 men, on Facebook. And I have an array of topics that we've discussed for men, to men, with men, about men. That's my little, I guess you can call it a cliche, but it's real conversations for men, conversations that we need to be having as men. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, you just need, we need to, especially in our community. I am so big on the things that we need to do as Black men in our community right now. Boy, I can. There are so many things that we need to start doing. And I believe we have an amazing opportunity right now to change American history right now. See, no one's going to take us serious till we take us serious. There's so many things that I got planned. I want to open up our own schools. We don't need permission.
Wow.
We don't need permission to police our own neighborhoods. Why are we asking for that? Why are we asking for permission?
Yes,
I think Farrakhan, and I love Farrakhan. I think he's probably the strongest exemplary example of a Black man right now as it stands. I don't always agree with everything that he says, but 90% of the things that he says is right on point. I even go as far as say 95% of the things. Now, when he said he wanted, I don't even remember what the number was. He said he needed a certain amount of fearless Black men. I can't remember what the number was. Forgive me, but he's talking about making change, and he's not just talking about it. He's been talking about this for a long time. This ain't nothing new.
Yes.
And people take 30-minute sound bites of the things that he talks about, and they turn it into something else. And we need to stand by our brother. That's what this whole thing is about, man. If we're going to change and build our new Black Wall Street, we got to change this. We got to change this right here. That's what we got to do. This is what we got to change. So all we got to do is change this right here.
Yep.
Ain't nothing like a made up mind. Like Mark was saying, he went and got the resistance bands and he got all those things because he made up his mind that that's what he wanted to do. Ain't nothing like a man who has his mind made up for the things of God that he wants to do in this life. And I'll say this. Okay, first of all, COVID's here for a reason. And if you come out of COVID, because this too shall pass. If you come out, it's the same way you came in, that's your fault.
Wow.
There's a reason why we're in this. The question you should ask in yourself, like ask myself, is what am I supposed to be learning while I'm in this quarantine? Because if I come out of this and have not learned anything, that's going to be a problemo, my friend. That's going to be a problem. So we got to do better. And I think as we come together as men, I think we can help one another in a serious way. I really do. So that's my thing. That's it. We need to come together as men.
Yes.
And our women are praying that we do. They are praying because they tired. Our women are tired. Let me tell you, it's amazing that they're still here. It's amazing that we're still here. The women are tired. It's time for us to step up.
Step up. You got some women saying, say that again. They're saying, amen. Man, you are vital to society. There is a solution inside of you to somebody's problem on this earth. And you need to identify what that is, what has God placed inside of you, and you need to build on side of that and build on that. You need to expand your mind. Like I said, you may have to take a class. You may have to get some type of degree. You may have to get a certification. You may have to sit and learn. You may have to be humble and not be the person that everybody's going to at this time. But that's only God preparing you so that when he releases you, you can be that go-to person. So make sure that you are not wasting this time waiting for Corona to be over in order for you to grow. Develop yourself. Find ways to learn things that you didn't know. And let me tell you, there's some things there's some things, Derrick, I've been paying for. And I was like, all these years I've been paying somebody else to do this, and all I had to do is go on YouTube and learn how to do it myself.
Wow. Yeah.
There's some things that, I mean, the access is there. You just have to look for it. Learn something new. Learn a trade that you've been paying somebody else to do. Now that's more money for your investments or for your savings or whatever it is that you're using it for. Be creative at this moment right now. Be creative. The sky is really the limit. So don't limit what God wants to do through you. He wants your partnership. He wants your hand on the journey. So make sure that you give him those things. Well, Derrick, I want to thank you for joining us on Monday Moments with Marcus. It has been a very exciting conversation. There's some great things that was spoken in here. I'm going to have to go back and watch this again. I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you are doing. And I look forward to seeing God do some great and mighty things in the lives of man all over this world through Man of Fortitude. So thank you for being obedient, and thank you for joining me on today. To all of our viewers, I want to thank you for joining us for Monday Moments with Marcus. Let's Talk Kingdom. If you do want to support it, MD Beard 1980 on the Cash App. We thank you. We'll see you on next week. Same time. I'm going to be solo, so make sure that you have your questions ready to put in the chat for me on next week. Thank you all for being a part of Monday Moments with Marcus. And thank you, bro.
Thank you.